You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPide, like to be your host as always. Joined as always by Shankers. Shankers, nice Callaway top, what's happening?
Aye, you need to sort me out with some new stuff. I need a bigger size now because there's lockdown.
Brilliant. Wilson's here as always as well. What's happening, Wilson? We good?
Yes, all's well here. Shankers, I blame Andy Barham, and he said he would sort us out. But me and Daryl have decided that we're just going a wee bit bigger today. If Nike are sending us gear, we've got to wear it. So it's Andy Barham and to trump the Nike contract that we have. So that's all I can say.
Brilliant. Rory Loy's back as well. Rory, how we doing?
Aye, all good.
Brilliant. Pleasure to have you on. Pleasure to have you on as always. We've got a very special guest this week. Delighted to be joined by the current Darvel Defender, former Queen's Park Alloa and Ayr man, Daryll Meggatt. Daryll, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Brilliant. How you been? All right?
Been good. Aye, just been plodding away in this lockdown. There's nothing else for it, is there?
Missing Banana Park?
Yes and no. Like I said, enjoying a wee break and spend a wee bit of time with the wee man and stuff. But just I think need to get back to a wee bit of normality at some point.
Definitely. We'll get into the results over the weekend. We'll start off today. St Johnstone won the League Cup with a victory over Livingston, 1-0, Rooney with a goal. We'll start off with Wilson because I know if regulars that watch this show know Wilson has done nothing but lay the boot into Callum Davidson all season. Callum Davidson's won the first cup of the season. Wilson, what do we think? Are you ready to take your words and apologise to Mr Davidson?
No, absolutely not. I think I was watching John Craven and Countryfile instead of the game, and you'll find that the viewing figures for that game will be about 26. And there's probably two worst footballing teams in the league competing it. But you've got to give us it's a trophy that now makes Callum Davidson more successful than Steven Gerrard. So you've got to give him some credit, but honestly, I not even a pointless cup final. Absolutely pointless having it in Premier Sports as well. You would have to pay to watch that.
I agree with that.
But again, it's massive for any team. I think outside Old Firm to win a trophy. So even though I tipped them for relegation, they still might. They've won a trophy. So congratulations, St Johnstone.
Brilliant, definitely. Rory, what was your thoughts on the game? Were you surprised at how well St Johnstone played, and what did you expect going into the game?
Following on from Mark Wilson, who's a massive Scottish football advocate, we all know that. The game was nip and tuck. It was kind of, me and Shankers thought last week it might go the distance. To be fair, on the balance of play, I thought St Johnstone probably should have won by more. They were the better team. I was quite disappointed in Livingston, to be honest. They usually pack a bit of a punch when it comes to the later stages of the game, but they never really got going. St Johnstone were the better team and should have won by more. So, the best team won on the day, and well done to Callum Davidson and St Johnstone. It was well deserved, and I think carrying on for beating Hibs 3-0 in the semi-final, looking at the run as a whole, they were probably one of the winners in the end.
Yeah.
Can we just go back to last week, Scott, and see what the predictions were?
I can't even remember.
I think it would go the distance, but it would be a goal in it.
I say one each, and Wilson said 3-0. So I think I was closer overall.
I think all three of you went Livingston to lift the trophy, and I
definitely went Livingston.
Oh, thanks very much, Callum. Callum, you're welcome if you're listening.
Daryll as well. What do you think? What was your thoughts on the game? Were you surprised at how well St Johnstone played?
Well, I only caught 8 minutes of it because then I fell asleep. It was going to be quite lucky. No, I started to watch it.
The race started, so you were tuning into that instead.
No, I watched the first 10-15 minutes, then after that I had to go. I was far too busy, but it didn't look entertaining, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Shankers, you made a wee point about how you didn't think the game was living up to much. What did you think of the game?
not for a cup final, for two teams that don't get to cup finals often. Many of them looked as if St Johnstone obviously looked as if they wanted to win it more, but none of them. Livingston never even laid a glove, as Rory says. They looked as if they didn't want to get beat more than they wanted to win. David Martindale summed it up perfectly in his interview. He says St Johnstone won every header defending their own box and won every header attacking Livingston's box, and that pretty much summed it up. John Rooney's probably one of their dangers for set pieces, and he gets a free run. And once St Johnstone went up, I fancied them because they've got a good solid defensive line with Kerr, McCart and Rooney as well. So probably overall in the balance of play, St Johnstone deserved it.
Yeah, congratulations to Callum Davidson and his team. Great achievement for them. We'll move on to the results in the league. Celtic won, Aberdeen now in John Kennedy's first match in charge. Rory, obviously we haven't seen you since Neil Lennon's resignation. What was your immediate thoughts on that? We haven't actually spoke to you since then. What was your thoughts on Neil Lennon leaving Celtic?
I think overall, if you look at Neil Lennon and when it happened, it was probably either 6 weeks too late or 6 weeks too early in terms of Celtic as a club. I think if they'd acted sooner, they may have been in a position to maybe try and regain a little bit of pride in the last 6 months of the season. And I think doing it now, or Neil Lennon, I just don't see the point in it happens, 6-7 weeks before the season ends. So it's a bit of no man's land for me in terms of the actual timing of it. It leaves them in a position now where John Kennedy's got 8 games to go. I don't think it matters how well John Kennedy does. I don't think he'll be the next manager of Celtic. I think he could beat Rangers twice and it still wouldn't make any difference. But I think on the balance of play yesterday, having seen the highlights on Sports Scene, what I would say is overall, I don't think anyone could complain if it would have been a draw, is what I would say. Celtic were good in the first half. It was a bit of a damp squib in the second half. But overall, I think Lennon leaving at that time just kind of sums up Celtic's season. And I think Nathan Patterson coming on and scoring after a minute kind of sums up Rangers' season. Everything Rangers have done this season seems to have turned to gold, and everything Celtic have done is turned to dust. And I think that's just been the way the seasons went. But I wasn't surprised to see him go. I was just surprised at the timing of it, is what I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Shankers, what was your thoughts on Celtic's victory over Aberdeen yesterday?
I watched it. It wasn't the greatest of games. I think it was two poor sides have not had a great season. Celtic were just the better of two poor sides. There wasn't much in it. I think Aberdeen hit the crossbar. John Kennedy's made a few changes, maybe try to stamp his own authority on it. There wasn't really much else to take from it. I think Celtic just try to get a good momentum run going towards the end of the season, try and get a wee bit of positivity up at the place.
Yeah, definitely. Daryl, what's been your thoughts on the current situation at Celtic? Do you think now who do you think could be the next manager as well?
The hard one, I think, like Rory was saying, I think it's a wee bit too late in actually getting rid of him. He could have got something a lot earlier to try and rebuild for next year, and work their way towards getting back to what they were the last, obviously, 9 seasons, winning 9 in a row. But look, it was a massive season for him and they've fell miles short. Whatever happened there, I don't know. But in the same again with the game against Aberdeen, they were just flat, like he says, but they're miles behind, and I was probably just predicting a season the way it's been going. Usually Aberdeen at Celtic Park usually take a doing and it finishes on a 1-0. Yeah.
Wilson, have you spoke to any of your pals in the hierarchy about who could be the next manager?
He's on mute. Tell him he's on mute.
And take yourself off mute, please.
Sorry.
It's enjoyable when you're on mute. Just for the sake of the
show. I spoke to someone very high up at Celtic yesterday, and here I'm just catching on a point with Rory. Even though he was asked about Celtic, Aberdeen managed to get Nathan Patterson and Rangers in the action, which is bizarre in itself. But anyway, let's not worry about it. So, as I say,
I've been following your Twitter feed the last week, Wilson. You've not tweeted a lot about Celtic, that's for sure.
My phone's broken. Anyway, so here's, and as I say, I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. Made the point there about you didn't think John Kennedy would imagine. I agree, 100% agree. However, what is Celtic being, very frugal with their finances? Somebody made the point to me yesterday saying that Celtic obviously have their eye on. I don't think they will, but people like Steve Clark, Martinez, who are going to be at the Euros. Celtic cannot wait until after the Euros to get somebody in. Celtic needs somebody in ASAP. If, for example, now this is just an example, I think he's got a good chance. It may not be. Say Eddie Howe and Roy Keane knock the job back. Okay, Kennedy wins the 2 Old Firm games or 3 or 4 games, whatever, and then they can't wait till after the Euros because Clark and Martinez won't give them the answer. I think the Celtic board at the moment are crazy enough to give John Kennedy the job. I'm not joking.
I think you're crazy. You think Martinez would be the next Celtic manager regardless of the circumstances?
Well, Sean Maloney's a good friend of mine, and I saw him in Sports Scene last night, and he certainly didn't rule it out. I mean, James McFadden absolutely slaughtered him straight away, saying why would they go for the best team in the world, to Celtic?
But see that point you're making there, right? See if after the summer Martinez does get far in the Euros, surely there's a lot bigger jobs in Celtic going to be in his head.
Oh, absolutely. However, look at the opposite side. His club management record was okay, wasn't amazing, wasn't poor. Belgium could go there and lose 3 games and get put out the tournament early doors.
And he's getting nobody after that.
Well, Celtic would still take him, absolutely. Celtic would still take him.
Could they line a job up before? Can they say get the job in principle before it and just agree to take Belgium in the tournament and then get a Celtic job after? You know what I mean?
But why would you do that if you go far in the Euros?
You go there, you win the Euros, and Real Madrid and Barcelona are chapping your door, and you've signed for Celtic.
I think that's probably one of the worst things for Celtic now that the Euros is coming up, because there's probably managers who have maybe got teams, international teams like Steve Clark, Martinez, and Celtic ideally need an appointment in now and can't really wait to after the Euros.
I do think it'll be Roy Keane and Damien Duff. That's what I think it will be.
Roy Keane?
Yes.
See the way he speaks about some of the players that play in the Premier League and $100,000. Imagine getting into that dressing room. What he would think.
You'd tell him
he'd do.
but some, and again, it's a wee bit. I know you're a regular listener, Daryl. We spoke about this. It's right person at the right time. Rangers. Rangers at the time before they brought Steven Gerrard in. They took a big gamble on him. He was inexperienced, but he's done well. He's progressed on well. So at the moment, Tommy Wright came into Kilmarnock, needed a bit of experience, try and keep them up, etc. That's what his remit was. Was it thinking outside the box? Was it going for something different? No, it was just something down the merry-go-round.
Wilson, are Celtic fans going to be prepared to wait 2 seasons to win the title back? Yeah. That's the question. So you want somebody to come in who's going to maybe take a wee bit of time. If somebody says to you, somebody's going to come in, but Rangers will win the next 2 titles, I don't think Celtic fans would accept that.
Well, we were just having this discussion off air before we come on, just as Daryl come on. If someone had said to you 3 years ago, right, we're going to bring Steven Gerrard in, are you going to let Celtic win 9 in a row, let him stop 10 and then he can go, would you have been happy with that?
No, of course not.
There you go. So it's the same with Celtic.
I would differ for that. I think his remit was stop 10 in a row. That would have been his remit. That was his remit. That was his end goal.
So Rangers fans were quite happy with the first 2 shambolic seasons under Gerrard.
You asked me, you didn't ask the full Rangers fans. You asked me, and I personally think...
The 4 of you are Rangers fans.
Well, I'm a Rangers fan, but Daryl's a Rangers fan, and he said the opposite to me, so I can't speak for everybody. That's my point. That's my point in case. What I would say is that if you'd offered me to stop 10 in a row the season Gerrard signed, I'd have said aye, Gerrard would have said aye, and the board would have said aye.
I find that, quite bizarre that you're accepting a manager that's won 1 out of 12 trophies and spent £40 million, and that's what you're happy with. So why would the Celtic fans not be happy not to win the next league to get someone that Steven Gerrard's in?
Right, if you put to the Celtic fans, if you were to give up 3 Betfred Cups and a Scottish Cup over the last 3 seasons to take 10 in a row, a large percentage of them would say yes.
100%, but why can't
there you go
Celtic lose why can't Celtic lose? Why can't Celtic be patient and let someone build what Rangers can?
Well, you've just said there that Rangers fans shouldn't be happy to accept no winning trophies, and yet you've just given up 4 trophies yourself.
9, mate. But what I'm saying is Celtic fans will allow someone to rebuild if they get somebody of a name like Steven Gerrard in. Now, are Rangers fans going to be happy Gerrard goes to Liverpool in the summer and they go back to where they were and Celtic win the next 5 or 6 in a row?
Rangers are in a different place, but
Gerrard's away in the summer. Absolutely.
Right, Wilson, let's bring you back down to reality with the result at Rugby Park. Kilmarnock 1, Dundee United 1.
Back with a bang.
Finally a point in the board. First thing I thought of was Kyle Lafferty was absolutely outstanding yesterday. Didn't score a goal, but was still outstanding, the way he played. Do you think he's going to make that improvement in the need?
I think not single-handed. I think he'll keep Kelly up. I think he'll be the difference. I did okay. Hit the crossbar. The goal ruled out, which I probably think it should have been ruled out in terms of the laws of the game. But just having that, focal point in the box, that he can win headers and he can also play. He's got a good touch in that as well. So I genuinely do think he'll be the difference that will keep Kelly well out keep them in 10th place and stay up.
Daryll, do you think Kelly will stay up?
No. I think they'll go down. Apologies, but I think they'll go down. And Hamilton will do their usual revival every season. And I think they'll drag Kelly into that relegation.
This has been my favourite episode yet.
Kelly will beat Ross County. Kelly will beat Ross County next Saturday.
Ross
County are hopeless.
Lafferty has got previous scoring big goals at Rugby Park, to be honest, so he could keep them up.
We'll wait and see. Rory, Dundee United, they've got a hard run ahead. Do you think, though, they still might be able to get top 6?
I think it's going to be difficult for them. I think St Mirren pretty much secured with their win yesterday, top 6. Don't think Livy are going to be catchable. If you're asking me now, no, I don't think Dundee United will get in the top 6. And I think over the course of the season, they started strongly. 7th is probably about right for them, is what I would say. I think St Mirren have come on really strong as the season's progressed. Watched that game in Sports Scene and some unbelievable saves in that game. If you've not seen some of the saves, one of them was world class, by the way, unbelievable save. But I think that Livy and St Mirren will clinch the top 6. I think Dundee United will just miss out and probably over the balance of the season, quite rightly so.
Yeah. Shankers, we'll move on to Easter Road, where if there's a game that sums up how unpredictable this season's been, it's the Hibs 0, Motherwell 2. What a result for Motherwell.
I think that's the worrying thing for Kilmarnock. Teams run about them are picking up points. And obviously, Motherwell would have been, Hibs would have been favourites to beat Motherwell. So it just shows you how unpredictable it is, as you said. And it's worrying for Kilmarnock that teams are picking up points, running about them and keeping them up. That's how I have to agree with Daryll. I think they could struggle to go down. Maybe via the playoffs, right enough. Maybe via the playoffs, right enough. But Hamilton and Ross Counties and Motherwell's picking up points at places that I don't think Kilmarnock can at the moment, and that's why I can see them going down. And I think Motherwell's got too much to keep them up. But see, I just had a quick glance at the league table there. I think St Johnstone can maybe go and end up sneaking in the top 6. They've got a game in hand that brings them 3 points behind. They've just won the cup, got a wee bit of momentum. They've had momentum going into the cup final. I think that could maybe keep them going and end up securing top 6. I think they're probably the better side out of all the teams running about. Dundee United, St Mirren, Livingston. I think they're the best team out of them fighting for the top 6. So I think St Johnstone in there. Yeah.
Rory, see, like Hibs obviously been off and on all season, but they're still on track to finish third. Like, obviously, will Jack Ross be is Jack Ross the sort of person that will be like target first, then result second? Like, how do you think he'll be thinking about the off-on results that have been happening lately?
Like a lot of managers, the start of the season, even midway through the season, till you get to the kind of tail end, it's mostly performance based. If you're performing well, you do believe the results will come. But over the course of the season, if you take the season as a whole, they've been pretty consistent. They're sitting third above I know it's not the Aberdeen team of the last few seasons, however, they're still a strong side. So I think regardless of how they get there, if they can finish third come May time, then he'll be delighted. But as Shankers said there, that was a tough one to call yesterday. I would never have said that Motherwell would have went there and won 2-0. But I would imagine Jack Ross would be pretty disappointed with yesterday. I think the way the league is, though, Motherwell, you do see Motherwell capable of going and winning that game, and yet 2 defeats in the bounce to follow that. And that's why I'm a little bit worried for Kilmarnock myself. I hope they stay up. I think they will just have enough. But in the moment, I would rather be Motherwell losing 2 games and then winning one than be Kilmarnock, who are playing better than Motherwell, arguably, but picking up a point every 3 games. But I think it's a strange time of the season. There's clubs at the bottom scrapping. There's clubs at the top who are maybe lost that little bit of momentum. And I think Hibs fall into that category. I think they're third. They're probably where they want to be, and they've maybe lost that edge in terms of something to fight for, something to play for. And they almost look a little bit stale, is what I would say at the moment. But over the course of the season, I think they will finish third. I think Aberdeen will miss out and finish fourth. And I think Kilmarnock will just manage to stay up.
Yeah, last game to touch on, Daryl, was St Mirren 1, Ross County 0. Wilson's got an interesting point to make about Jim Goodwin we'll touch on in a second. But Daryl, what was your thoughts on St Mirren? They've been kind of one of the surprise packages of the season so far. I think they are going to finish top six.
The thing is, I think they had a tough start in the league, and then they've picked up probably the last, I would say, maybe six weeks roughly. They've started to pick up points, score goals, and obviously they put Rangers out of the cup. I think they will. I think they've got the momentum. I think they'll finish top six due to that. Like, they're starting to score goals, like I said, and the other teams round about them aren't picking up many points at all.
Yeah, Wilson, you've told us today you've got a point about Jim Goodwin. What's your thoughts on Jim Goodwin? Explain what you mean by
Jim Goodwin's a good one about mouthing off in the press about the penalty awarded to Greg Taylor in the Celtic game a couple of weeks ago and got a big back page expose, and then his team did it yesterday, just dived yesterday and got a penalty, and then he comes out and tries to defend the player, so and he did the same. They got a penalty against Motherwell where Lee Irwin dived, and then there was no mention of it. Then he gets a penalty. Celtic got a penalty against them, and he's all over the press for about 3 days, and then yesterday he comes out and defends his player for diving. So he needs to get a wee bit of reality check, him.
100%. For the first time tonight, I would agree with you. For the first time tonight, I would agree with you.
Honest,
Aye.
So he's off the Christmas card last. Just tell the truth, son.
He actually came out a couple of weeks ago and said after the Taylor one, which was more of a penalty, by the way, than the one they got yesterday, and said that we should start naming names, naming and shaming. I think that was the actual phrase he used, something along those lines. So I was really disappointed that he never came out. I think his way of saying it was the game should have ended a draw. I think that was his way of saying it wasn't a penalty. So I think if you're going to have, come out shouting and ball and saying about naming names, I think you've got to have the backbone to come out and say it wasn't a penalty and I'll have a word with my player. So I 100% agree with that.
Correct.
I think even in the media, he's going to always protect his players, and
you're
probably going to have the conversation with him in-house. So it's one of the ones. If you're not backing in the press, then he's going to.
I think to be fair, it was at the time. I think John Hughes had in effect called him a diver, or reiterated that he was doing that, and then he's come out and defended his player, but. He's absolute mouthpiece in terms of when he goes against him. And then he said 2 penalties from absolutely nothing. That's actually got him. I mean, the Celtic penalty was 1 of 4 goals. The 2 penalties that they've got has got him 6 points. He needs to be a wee bit honest with himself.
Mate, I think Big Kyle Lafford will need to start doing that to pick his points up.
It's not a problem for Kyle. Kyle will finish 10th, don't you worry. And just on Rory's point there, he mentioned the likes of Motherwell and St Johnstone. Kelly are now not at the stage to be looking at them. It's a 3-horse race with Hamilton, Ross County and Kilmarnock now, and Kilmarnock will finish 10th. And I always think the Premier team will stay up. The Premier team will in the playoff if they're still doing it.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
See, the only thing is, Hamilton and Ross County, more Hamilton, they do this every year. I think they've got more experience of grinding these wins out when they need it most. That's what Kilmarnock are in free fall.
Relegated, then it's too far to travel for an away game anyway.
Especially when you get beat 1-0 on a Sunday night.
Aye, in the middle of December.
Brilliant. We've got a few things to touch on later on in the Championship and other questions, but we'll touch on them later on. We'll move on to our special guest, Daryll Meggatt. It's a pleasure to be on the show, Daryll. You started out your career at Queen's Park. Just talk to us a bit about your early time growing up at Queen's Park and who the kind of good mentors you came through with.
When we were there, Big Anton Quinn was good. Obviously, I signed from a youth project, South Kimlaki. Gardner Spears took me there when I was 17. Sorry, we call him Britney Spears. That was his. He was a wee bit of a character. And, he was all right, but he gave me a good chance in terms of playing in League Two. So I appreciate that from him. Well, playing at Queen's Park, obviously as a young boy, you're playing at Hampden every second week was brilliant. It was great to do that. The first season, I think, when I signed, it was a learning curve. Maybe the first 10, 15 games, I probably made a lot of mistakes and stuff, but I learned from it. Then I was going to move on to Alloa probably the year after. But I'd already signed, so I spent 2 years at Queen's Park. I think we made the playoffs the second year. I think Sunra put us out, but no, it was great. Queen's Park, the setup's phenomenal. Obviously now they're moved on to full time and everything else. So I think that was the future plan when I was there. But now it's actually happened, and like I said, it's for any young boy to go there, you always get your chance.
Yeah, and you move on to Alloa as well. You've 2 spells at Alloa, but we'll touch on your first spell first. Like, what was your main highlights for that period of your time?
We got promoted in the first season from League One into the Championship. I think we beat Dunfermline, I think it was, in the playoff final. I think it was 3-0 at home and we get beat 1-0 away. Obviously, that was a great achievement, but just in terms of the squad that we had at Alloa, it was brilliant. Just a great group of guys. Rory will tell you yourself as well, when you're in a dressing room with a great group of guys, it follows onto the pitch and it makes life a lot easier on the pitch working for each other. The achievements, we obviously part-time club in that league at the time. Dunfermline were obviously favourites to beat us in the final, and we kind of...
Did you start that season, Daryl, with the expectation of getting promoted? Is that the kind of mindset you had, having just come up to the league below?
In League One, yeah. Obviously, the guys were in League Two, and I think they signed Stevie May, I think it was. I think in a half a season, I think he scored something like 21 goals or something. But no, definitely when we went into League One, that was the aim, to get promoted into the Championship.
A couple of questions here for William David Neal asked. Can you ask Daryl how he felt after the Forfar playoff final first leg and his important third goal in the second leg to keep Alloa in the Championship? Was that in your first spell, yeah?
That was my first spell. That was the third season, I think that was. That was amazing because obviously the club had, they looked after you, everybody, the players, even right through to the kit man, wee Pat, was exceptional. No, it was great to get that winning goal to keep them in the Championship, because obviously I was leaving that season to go to Dundee.
Brilliant. Obviously, you go to Dundee and as well, your spells at Ayr and then East Fife. Like, what were your kind of highlights for those spells as well?
Dundee wasn't really a highlight,
right.
to be entirely honest with you. It was tough, especially the mornings travelling up. Rory will tell you he was one of the designated drivers. It weren't not great. I was in the back with a pillow sleeping. But no, just...
Bar's not that bad, is it?
Is it 6:30 in the morning?
Don't get me wrong, there was no much talking on the way up in the morning. No, I felt when I went to Dundee, I don't think I got a fair crack of the whip, to be entirely honest with you. A lot of people will ask me the question, could I have handled it in the SPL? I don't know, would be my answer. I'd like to think it would, but I just felt as if I didn't get the chance to try and prove that.
Rory, what were your memories of Daryl at Dundee?
As Daryl says there, we travelled in together. So in the first season, literally in the second season, the car school that we had was decimated. Daryl moved on, Paul McGinn moved on, Kane Hemmings moved on, Greg Stewart moved on. So literally everybody who was in that car school, David Mitchell, everybody moved on. So in terms of off the pitch, we still had that camaraderie and that strong kind of relationship. To be fair, we were actually relatively successful in the first season. We finished about 8th, but I think we
top 6. I think we finished.
No, we just missed it in the last season at Hamilton. But no, as Daryl says there, it's difficult to comment in terms of on the pitch because he never really got a fair crack of the whip. I think he maybe one start or something, which we all know isn't anywhere near enough to find out whether you're capable of playing at that level or even getting a run in the team or whatever else. So it was a frustrating time for Daryl, and as the season progressed for me as well. But I've got fond memories in my time at Dundee in terms of the boys I met. We're still in the WhatsApp group, we still speak and things, and we had a close-knit group there. So like I said, Daryl's my pal to this day, so my relationship with him was good, but it probably could have been better on the park in that season and the way it finished up.
Yeah. We'll move on to your time at Ayr, Daryl, as well. Obviously, you had a season there. What was your kind of experience at Ayr like?
It was brilliant. Big shout out to the kitchen staff. The food was exceptional.
One.
I think if anybody goes there, they're always right into that kitchen. It's fantastic.
That's
Rory,
how I had to leave. I put on too much weight.
Rory would have loved that, by the way, but
I would have, you're right.
tomato sauce and everything, so he doesn't use much.
That's just true.
No, Ayr United was good. Obviously, it was a poor season from our point of view in terms of on the pitch because we got relegated. But same again, it was a good group. We signed Big Gary Harkins. Obviously, we were at Dundee together, and he brought something else to the team for a big slug of a guy. He's got very quick feet, to be entirely honest with you. But no, it was great. McCall was a madman as well. Just so unpredictable. So he was very.
You got a good Ian McCall story.
Oh, I forgot a good story. Jesus Christ. Maybe a few. I think he loves days off. He was never there half the time. I've heard that.
I heard that. For a few teams.
No, I would say maybe. I think Darren Miller passed him on Byers Road one day, and he was sitting with the Partick Thistle shorts on still. So, and I think he says that I called him a wanker. So, I think shortly after that, Scott McKenna got signed, and me and Paddy Boyle were sharing left back a game in, a game out after that. So, Miller has absolutely killed me for that one.
Brilliant.
See when you were at Ayr, see at the end of that season, when Ayr went down to the league below, they went full time. See, because you were at Dundee and you were full time then, did that get you off staying at Ayr and going full time then, or did you have that option or what?
No, he offered me to stay full time, but just at that kind of spell when I was at Ayr United, I was starting a business up, so I couldn't.
Oh, right.
I couldn't really commit to full time. I would have loved to have done that, but I did speak to McCall, and I did say, look, once I'm back up and running and whatever else, then the option's still there. If you need obviously any defenders, then I'd happily come in.
Mm-hmm. Well, you move on to East 5 as well. What was your memories like of your time at East 5? East 5 was great. Obviously, I know Darren Young from the Alloa days. He was our captain. He's a great guy. Yeah, we've had Darren on. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. So he's really good. And to be quite honest with you, I think Darren's missed out on some good opportunities in terms of other jobs. But I think that'll come through experience as well, and I think he'll start being in the pot for kind of jobs. But East 5 was great. I think we just missed out on the playoffs as well that season. And I think Darren was desperate for me to stay, but I was just having a wee boy at that time, and I needed something more kind of local. Yeah, Lewis Simpson asks as well, the fan questions, why did you leave East 5? Was it basically because of what you said there? Yeah. Well, like I said, I had the business not up and running, and I had a kind of on the way, so it was just, I was pulled. Nice.
What is he doing? Is he doing the What's he doing?
It was just a bit hectic in the travelling through to Edinburgh for training and stuff. It was getting a wee bit too much. And then obviously you moved to Darvel, and I'm kind of interested to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, like, you dropped down a couple of levels to go to Darvel. Like, did you worry about that when you made the decision to go there? Like, you were dropping down to kind of junior level at the time? Yeah, speaking to Mike, obviously he's very ambitious and where he's want to take the club, and you've got John obviously there, like you said, with the money. I want to go very far, so I like the idea of what obviously they're planning to do, and I want to be part of it, and hopefully it takes on as a good journey. How much are you enjoying it? It's brilliant, especially a few of my friends are there as well, so it's good back playing with your mates effectively, and obviously now with this new system we can climb ourselves up into the SPFL. How far do you think you can go? Well, you've seen the squad we've got this year, and I think it'll get better probably for next season. I think we could go all the way, to be entirely honest with you. I think at one point Darvel were probably the most talked about club with everything that was going on round about them. So I think we could go all the way, especially with the players that the gaffers looking to speak to and bring in. Players that can still play in the championship that are playing it as at the moment. Yeah. Brilliant. Shankers, yeah, you want to ask Darryl about anything?
How much are you on? No, I'm kidding.
Can't disclose it. Not allowed to.
No, I'm fine.
Brilliant. Wilson, you've got quick fire questions. Do you want to just get fired into them?
Yes, aye. So some you have to, it's either or, then others we want a proper answer from.
Right.
Okay, but we want the truth. And as we did this with Rory, we want big names. Right? You're not interested in guys at East Fife and all that, with the greatest respect, unless you've maybe played at a much higher level in East Fife. With no disrespect to East Fife.
Yeah.
We want celebrity names. Okay.
Go for it.
Right. 55 or 10.
55.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Nando's or Black Rooster?
Got to go Black Rooster.
Alloa or Falkirk?
Alloa.
John Gall or Fraser Gall?
John Gall.
Money or medals?
Medals.
That's a big pause there, wasn't there? How many goals did you score for Alloa?
13 maybe? I guess.
Your Wikipedia page says 1.
Oh.
No lie.
Maybe I looked up Darrell Duffy or something, I don't know. Right. Apart from Greg Stewart, who's the best player you've played with?
Perfect.
Greg Stewart's not even in the category.
Right,
This might shock you a wee bit. I don't know if
You don't need to say me because I'm here, Meg. Pick somebody else.
If it's him, I'm logging off.
Best player I've probably played with would be a boy that was at Kilburnie and he signed at Queen's Park roughly the same year as me, I think it was. It was Davy Anderson.
He's brilliant.
Aye, I remember him.
Central midfielder, just had everything. Could drive box to box, great in the air. For a wee guy, he was just unbelievable. He could have probably went a lot further, but I think he was just kind of happy with what he was doing and comfortable.
Right. Best player played against?
Best player played against. I remember probably pre-season when we played Everton, big Lukaku.
That's the names we like. That's what we do the show.
He chucked me about for about 60 minutes, and I remember marking them at the corner, and they had about nearly stood my toe with size 14s.
I gave John Stones a run around that day. Remember that, Meg?
I don't remember that now.
Right, well, I tell you what, we'll ask them because John Stones and Lukaku are coming on next week.
Oh, are they?
I'll ask them if they remember. Okay. Mick Kennedy or John Kennedy?
Mick Kennedy.
Best manager you've worked under?
That is a hard one. I was
Wait to hear the next one.
The first 2 years, Hartley was exceptional. Obviously, we got promoted into the.
That's good because Rory hates him. That's superb, Darryl. Keep that going.
Wait till your next question comes, mate.
I'm not finished. So, then we went into the championship, and same again, great. Everything was about the players and everything else. And in the third season, just changed. I think getting a wee bit of credit, and I think he just started to be about him and know what we were actually doing on the pitch and stuff. So he changed a wee bit there. So that would be my answer.
So he's the best manager?
In those 2 years, yeah, it was
superb. Who's the worst?
Paul Hartley as well.
Right, okay, here we go. Best patter in the dressing room?
Any dressing room.
Any dressing room, the best guy with the best patter. Now we know that's not Rory.
No. I would go with probably Cy Ferry, even though he didn't shut up. He was fucking always asking you about jobs and God knows what. And aye, probably Cy Ferry. And Big Cheebs was up there as well. He was, both of them were probably tied.
Dressing room hard man.
Saying that, he thought he was a hard man. Paul McGowan thought he was a hard man, but no chance. He's just a wee daft boy for Airdrie.
With no hair.
when they hit. Oh, I said.
That is absolutely shocking. That needs to come off. Somebody needs to have a word with him, man.
He's got to shave it. He's got to.
That is hanging on by a thread.
I think there was actually a picture of him on Twitter, and somebody says you should start the game with a yellow card for that.
Brilliant.
Right, okay, we'll go to Darvel. Who's the best player at Darvel?
Me, of course.
Right. Who's the worst?
Oh, who will we go for? We'll probably go for Big Andy, the goalie, because he's got no arms.
Was that who Mick said? Who did Mick say? Was that who Mick said?
Mick said Daryll, mind.
Aye, Mick said Daryll, that's right.
I thought he said the goalie.
Aye, so did I. I thought he said a goalie as well.
He said, what's his
Goalie,
name?
was that a goalie
Again,
coach?
Chris?
Goalie coach.
Chris, maybe? Aye.
Aye.
I remember him when I was young. He used to get called the Cat. He still called the Cat, aye.
Still gets caught. Aye, very good.
Aye, he was at Celtic when I was young.
Aye.
Right, so Darvel again. League or Scottish?
The league.
And last one, of all the levels of football, who you've played against, what team do you hate the most?
Hamilton.
So you want them to get relegated then, sure?
No, I didn't say who I wanted relegated. I just said I think Kelly will go down.
Is there a story behind that, or just can't be bothered with it, or what?
Everybody hates playing against them, mate.
Watching playing against them and then doing us at the bonus, I think it was, when that last game of the season was a killer.
Good, that's me finished, Scott.
Brilliant. Rory, anything else to add?
No, don't think so. I would probably second Daryll in the old Hamilton one. I don't think anyone enjoys going there. And I think every season everybody wants them to get in, and they never do. So I'd probably go along with that one.
Brilliant. We've got a question here for Tommy Griffin. That's a great question for everybody. If you were allowed to travel back in time to give your 15-year-old self just one piece of advice that would help you make the most of your footballing ability, what would it be?
Stop eating.
Did you answer that? Was my answer, Shankers. Tommy, I didn't have any footballing ability, mate. So
Daryl, are you got an answer for that?
I'd probably say more committed.
Aye, definitely. Aye.
Rory?
Probably don't leave Kilmarnock when the opportunity comes to leave. Stay put.
Is that when you left Kilmarnock? Yeah, when you were 15?
Well, if I could go back in time and tell my 15-year-old self something, it would be that you're going to get the opportunity to sign for Rangers. Don't do it. Stay at Kilmarnock. Stay put.
You're always going, but aren't you, Rory? You're never ever saying no to that.
Aye, I know.
I think myself, I wasn't strong enough at that age to probably stand up for myself. My agent was in my ear, and obviously it's a difficult thing to turn down, but if I was to make that decision again, or be put in that position again, I would love that. That's the one thing I would change, just to see what would have happened.
Sorry, just two things on there. I can't believe Shankers had the opportunity to tell us about Torres and Suarez and all these other profiles. He's not done it. But just, I made that point to you. I don't know if it was on your chat or I was talking to you on the phone, Scott, when I said that about Rory. I felt you were never knocking that opportunity back to go to Rangers, right?
I kind of wish it had never presented itself.
Aye, but you progressed well at Rangers, but the calibre you were up against to play first team was much higher.
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd progressed that way at Kilmarnock, you would have played first team, I think. I said that to you, Scott, off air before.
The one thing it did put me off slightly was I was under 19s at the time, and I remember going into the meeting with Jim Jeffries, and as a young boy, Jim Jeffries and Billy Brown were very much, they dealt with the first team. If you were an under 19, you played in the reserve team, they wouldn't really interact with you. They were about the first team. When you made that step up after the under 19s, that's when they would interact with you and communicate with you, etc. So I remember sitting down in that meeting and thinking, in my own head, I don't know if this is right. And we sat down and he said one thing. He said something along the lines of, it was something along the lines of, if you were as good as Stephen A. Smith or something like that, we would have had. He said something along those lines where I thought, fair enough if you don't think that, but I didn't feel really like I was going to go in next season and be playing games for Kilmarnock. I'm not saying that would have been the difference when we staying or no, but what I would say is that it's difficult to turn down, but I came out of that meeting probably with my mind more made up going to Rangers than I was staying at Kilmarnock. So it was a difficult time in terms of moving on because I love Kilmarnock, but going back and looking back at my career, not that I had a bad career, but as Wilson says, you look at like your Scott Arfield who play 100 games for Falkirk by the time they're 19, stands him in such good stead. I might have had that opportunity at Kilmarnock because I was liked there, but I decided to move to Rangers, and as Wilson says, I kind of get swallowed up in the system. I wish it was that.
That's the thing, Rory. Like you say, a lot of young players jump to the big clubs because of their opportunity. But the thing is, you're probably better starting lower than working your way up and get more experience, and then when you go to the big clubs, you're involved in the first team.
Yeah, but there you go.
90% of people are doing the same thing, so it's not as if you're the only person that's ever done it.
Especially if you're a Rangers supporter as well. There's an emotional tie as well with it.
A lot of young players go missing. There's probably a lot of young talent that's fell out in love with the game because they've went to the big clubs and they've just not had the game time, and they just
that's actually an interesting thing. I just want to ask you, Daryl, as well. I think I've asked Rory this as well. Who's the one player you kind of put through with at youth level that you thought would go far that just didn't for whatever reason? Like, who was the one player you thought would make it that didn't?
Due to obviously not being committed to it enough.
Just maybe injuries as well. Like, I know there's maybe a few players that kind of lose out to injuries early on, but
like I said, we had a lot of great players at Alloa. There was like Kevin Colley. He's been there at Alloa for years. I think he had one spell at Dumbarton and back. But other than that, even I think he was at Celtic as a young boy. Jason Mark had probably went further. Injury prone was just holding him back. Great player. It's a hard question, but you'd need to think about that. But probably both of them, because they're exceptional players, and I thought Jason and Kevin could have probably went a bit further.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch on as well. We put out earlier on about the situation at Ayr United. Obviously, before we put this out beforehand, we're obviously asking were Ayr in trouble. Mark Hardy got back to saying that he thought they were a bit weak in the middle of the park and they were worried about Mark Kerr not knowing his best team. Major news came out today. I was quite stunned to hear that Mark Kerr and his assistant manager Michael McArdle have left with mutual consent. We'll go to Shankers first. Shankers, what's your thoughts on that? Are you surprised that that's finally what's happened?
I don't think I am, because I said to you earlier, I don't know if Daryl was the same when he was at Ayr. If you win 3 games at Ayr, the fans love you. If you lose 3, they want rid of you. So I think that's just the mentality. I don't know whether it's the same at other clubs. I just know for being at Ayr, that's kind of the mentality that they've got. So I'm not really surprised that he's lost his job. I just who'll come in now, who looks for the outside and I think Mark Kerr, what was he given in the job? Maybe
I think it was
a year,
18 months. Maybe just.
It's not. I think it was. It's not really it's not a long time. Ayr were punching above their weight under Ian McCall in the Championship, challenging for playoffs and up the top of the league. Ayr are a mid-table Championship team at best for me. So I don't think the fans have got that realistic ambition that obviously you want to be challenging up the top of the league, but I think realistically Ayr are a middle of the road Championship team. If Ayr can stay safe in the Championship every season, I think that's the manager's doing his job. Basically, I think they should be happy with that.
Yeah, Wilson, what's your thoughts on the situation at your rivals?
Well, as the 5th biggest team in here, sure, I don't really take much to do with them, to be honest. But I mean, he's 4 points off 5th, and as Shankers said, I think mid-table for Ayr has to be their ambition in terms of their budget, their support, etc. And I always just think Ayr could be a big club, you know.
That's massive support.
When they attended, they could be a big club, but I just think the ambition from possibly the previous chairman, the chairman maybe supersedes what they're actually capable of in their budget. Now, again, and with an experienced manager, get a wee bit longer. You know, as I say, he's 4 points off 5th. I think he's got games in hand, albeit Inverness are a good few behind. So it was a surprise decision, but again, I always think it's a wee bit like maybe when you guys played. If you're getting beat, they make a sub, they take a young boy off. You know, rather than young boys playing well. I feel it's a manager, but I do think there's a problem with Ayr United. As I say, I don't think they've ever really kind of tested the water about trying to become an SPL team. I think there's a kind of problem behind the scenes there of because
to stay in there.
Mark Roberts was treated very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really given a long time or a chance in there, as I say. But they're in trouble, you know. Again, will they go for someone with experience, you know, just to keep them in the league this year? As our target's now changed, a wee bit like Kilmarnock did, just keep them up and then start again. So will they go for experience, or, you know, and I've been very vocal on this show, if Kilmarnock in a different situation, you know, and it was the end of the season, I'd have been disappointed with Tommy Wright being named as a manager. I feel we should be going for something a wee bit different, you know, because ideas and things have changed now. I would maybe play Well, I threw names into the hat, you know, like, you know, does Barry Ferguson deserve a shot at a big club? Does somebody like Peter Lovencrantz deserve a shot at a big club? You know, just to try something new, someone with new ideas. You know, I'd heard rumours that maybe Lovencrantz and Kevin Thompson were maybe coming, or we're looking for an interview. You know, rather than just Tommy Wright and that kind of thing.
When you say deserve, what does deserve entail?
Sorry, deserves the wrong word. As I spoke to you guys last week, you know, guys like Barry Ferguson, who maybe wasn't the best at Clyde, and he's went to Celtic, Hearts, done well. I know it's a lower level, but these guys need to be in the situation where if they don't do well in their next job, then football management's not going to be for them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So they maybe try and adapt the way they do things. I gave you the example of Lee McCulloch. Now, I think he's doing well at Hearts as a number 2. When he came to Kilmarnock, he was raw and he had a raw assistant. See if he came to Kilmarnock and brought someone in with a bit of experience to help him on his way, then I think Lee McCulloch would have done okay at Kilmarnock. And you see, look what's happened, obviously, out with the Steve Clarke era.
See, I think that's a bit, like I touched on last week, I know you're saying it's the wrong word there, but you're Peter Lovencrantz, and it's interesting Daryl's been on. For me, if we're going to talk about people that deserve a crack at the whip and should be handpicked out of places to come in, you know, you look at Darren young Scottish manager, has done very, very well, as opposed to picking the likes to say Peter Lovencrantz from obscurity with no real CV there of managing teams. I think that's why when it comes to Darren Young, these guys,
it's unbelievable. And you know, he's a young man. He's to learn that trade. Now, who's Darren Young's assistant? I don't know who's.
It's boy Tony McMinn. I think he runs. Is it Soccer Box? Maybe up kind of think way. I think it's like kids academy.
I was looking kind of in terms of experience, but I agree with you. But as you well know, after the Steve Clarke era, Kelly fans have this expectation that we should be doing our Hibs at Aberdeen, whereas for our budget and the personnel and where we are, you know, we are St Johnstone, Livingston, Kilmarnock, Ross County, Hamilton. Unfortunately, you know that's where we are.
The thing is, as well, Steve Clarke left Kilmarnock in a good place. So where's it went wrong from somebody else stepping in? Is it just management, or they just don't fancy the manager at the time?
Well, I mean, you can only see what you get in the press and things, but it seemed as if the dressing room weren't particularly happy with the Italian Alessio when he came in. A few players left and whatnot, and then he had them 5th, you know, and then he was hunted. And I think, from what you believe in the papers, you know, he was hunted due because he didn't have a link with the dressing room. And then they bring in Alex Dyer, who was under Steve Clarke and Alessio, and he did okay initially, but then the record spoke for itself and results. And again, a wee bit like Celtic, did it go on too long? Should they have reacted and changed it?
Yeah.
And as I say, at the time, Tommy Wright's probably the right appointment. You know, a bit old school, you know, grind out a few 1-0 victories, battle, work hard, defend properly. And that, but I mean, that's him, three defeats and a draw from 4 games. And I know it was a tough start for him, but it's
Andy Millen's fault that they lost the last 3 games and drew.
A lot of the punters were questioning that prior to him leaving the club. But as I say, you know, I mean, I agree with you. They were just 2 names that I plucked out there. And the likes of... Sorry, Mark.
Sorry. Do you not think that's similar with Ayr though? Ian McCall had them. I know what I compare it to Steve Clarke because obviously it's a bigger club in a better league. But Ian McCall had them up there punching above their weight, and for somebody to come in and replicate that is so difficult. So that's what,
especially a rookie.
that's where Ayers fans' ambition is to know, to be up the top of that league, challenging second, third in the playoffs, where realistically there's no that kind of team in that league compared to your Dundees, Inverness, Dunfermline. So that's where their ambition is now. But I don't think financially the club can match that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Celtic as well. You know, if Celtic need to sell 60,000 season tickets, they're going to go and get a Roy Keane, Eddie Howe big name. If Celtic turn around and say, by the way, John Kennedy's getting a 3-year contract, then by all means there'll be 10,000 season tickets sold.
You think Roy Keane would take the job?
Yes.
I don't understand the Roy Keane thing. You know, Roy Keane, his only connection to Celtic is that he played with them for a spell, had a very unsuccessful period, and he's a Celtic fan. So
Never lost an Old Firm game at Celtic.
I don't understand the thinking there behind Roy Keane just because of that emotional tie. I don't understand that. There needs to be a disconnect from, you know, somebody who's played for a club and who used to play football and who can come in and manage players. Roy Keane's track record as a manager isn't great. So I don't really understand what the want or need to get.
To the Premiership.
I think Roy Keane is nowadays players are too timid for a guy like that to be a manager.
I agree with that.
He'd end up playing every Saturday after the game, I think, the players.
Imagine like somebody like Frimpong or something having a bad game and then you've got to come into the dressing room to him. I know Frimpong's away, but like there's no like the players have got a buzz about them to like deal with somebody like Roy Keane. I don't think. I'd
love to see Roy Keane's interviews after a Celtic defeat, to be fair. But...
yeah. Right. Rory, did you play with Mark Kerr?
I played with Kerr for quite a wee while across 2 spells. Really good midfielder. Do
you think he'll bounce back for this?
I hope so. When Peter Houston left to Falkirk in my second spell, Kershaw stepped up and took the team for 2 games, and he won the 2 games. He's very astute tactically. He knows his stuff. And he's went to Ayr, and listen, I don't know the ins and outs of how he's done it Ayr in particular. You know, Shankers and Wilson will know better than me. But he's got a very good knowledge of football, Scottish football, and how to set up a team and how to coach. So I really hope he does bounce back. He was really good in the 2 games he took Falkirk. So I hope so. But in terms of who replaces him, I can tell you one thing: there'll be about as much chance of Roberto Martinez parking up at Somerset come August than it will be Parkhead. 0 chance.
Mark Kerr.
Just the same as Daryl's relegation prediction. We'll enjoy getting you back on and eating your words.
I'll hold my hands up.
There are a few names that are coming through. I've kind of looked to see who the Ayr fans can are looking at. A few names are coming up. Gary Caldwell, David Hopkins, Kevin Harper. Darryl, do you think any of them could potentially be in the frame for it?
I don't think so. I think those 3 managers will probably ask for massive budgets, probably. No saying Ayr United, they'll probably cash that, but I don't think any of them will be in the hat for the job. Like Rory was saying, like a Darren Young or something, maybe should get that opportunity.
Yeah, as well as that, Shankers, how buzzing are you to see Black Shoes White Sox in the touchline next game?
The players will be, their agility levels will go through the roof with the ladder exercises that those players will be doing. Davey about the first team in you there, Darryl? Davey White.
Who's that?
Davey White. I don't know if he was about the first team in you there. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No. So he's in charge. I don't know, but I'll obviously maybe just the way the other way. Ayer's probably safe enough in the league, so they could probably keep him there to the end of the season to make sure they get the right appointment. The only thing that probably went wrong for me with Mark Kerr is he's trying to keep on to his hair as well. If he maybe shaved that off like Paul McGowan, or maybe kept his job.
Brilliant. Last wee thing as well, Wilson. Obviously, today you made us aware of a thing in the newspapers about Steven Gerrard potentially replacing Jurgen Klopp. What's your immediate thoughts on that? Could that be a possibility? I know you've been very vocal about
that. 100%. He'll be away in the summer. Gerrard will be away and Klopp will be away and Gerrard will replace him. I've said it on this show and I told you as well, Lampard will replace Gerrard at Rangers or at least be given the option.
Rory, do you see Steven Gerrard potentially replacing Jurgen Klopp?
I mean, we're here to give our opinions and speculate, but I think that Gerrard moving to Liverpool just now is too soon for him. Gerrard walked into a Rangers job in terms of an old firm team. It kind of to get a honeymoon period of 2 years is non-existent at an old firm team. He had that based on the fact that, in my opinion, the remit was to stop 10 in a row. Mm-hmm. He obviously did enough in the first couple of seasons for them to think, right, he's got it about him to do it. He's went on and done it. I don't think he would get that honeymoon period at Liverpool. I don't think he would get that settling in period. I get his history with the club. I think if you look at Frank Lampard, that just goes to show if you're not doing it and you're not getting the results, you're not going to be in a job. I think that he needs more time at Rangers to gain more experience, and maybe even another club in between before he would be ready to go on and hit the ground running with the likes of a Liverpool.
I agree with that. I think he wants to try the Champions League, Daryl.
Do you not think it's the same as,
I would say,
see what we were saying about Rory, where like the chance to go to Rangers, like he obviously too much to turn down. If Liverpool come calling for Steven Gerrard, can he afford to turn it down in the hope that he maybe gets it further down the line? If you're dangling that carrot in front of me, in front of Steven Gerrard to take a Liverpool job, I think he takes it.
I think he would end up like Frank Lampard.
He's away in the summer. I'm telling you.
I'm not saying he won't go or he wouldn't go. I'm saying that I don't know. I just don't know if it would work out for him if he did, based on the kind of the things I've just said there. I think he was massively running the risk of, by Christmas time, sitting eating his turkey with his family like Lampard was, and no managing a team.
I mean, I do agree with Rory, to be honest. I've said that before, that I thought an in-between team, you know, a Newcastle, a Leeds or something, you know, before he went to Liverpool. But I think the way the seasons went for him, you know, because again, and I'll say it again, they've been excellent this year. They've ran over the top in Scotland. They've done amazingly well in Europe in comparison, with the budgets, etc., and all that kind of stuff.
Have we got this on tape, guys? Have we got this on tape?
I have praised him on this show multiple times. However, he will be away, and if Liverpool phone him, he's gone. He's absolutely gone. Yeah, and I actually think, in the reverse of what Rory said, I think sometimes, like if a Leeds or a Newcastle came calling, I think he would say no to wait and just get a Liverpool job when you think he's ready, or when Liverpool are ready.
His stock's high now, so see Rangers. So see if somebody like Leeds or that came in, is he going to risk going there and
having a shocker,
making an arse almost to a certain extent, and then no getting that jump at a bigger job? While his stock's high now, he'll probably be highly sought after manager, whether it's a summer or a year later.
Like Shank says, his stock's high and he's stock 10 in a row, so he could, like he says, if he dangled that carrot in front of his face, he could be... Say
that again, Daryl. He stopped what?
I'm saying you're absolutely correct. If they dangle that carrot with a Liverpool job in front of him, he stopped 10 in a row. So
that's music to my ears.
The only thing that I think could go against him was he won't be able to take Bobby Madden down to referee Liverpool games.
And John Beaton.
He'll be going for getting 48 penalties a season to maybe 2. So he could be sacked by Liverpool by this time next June, to be honest.
I think they've missed about 20 of the penalties, to be fair.
They'll sign Tav, because Tav's better than Alexander Arnold.
We'll wrap up the show there. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure. Daryl, it's been a pleasure having you on as our special guest. I can't thank you enough. Hope you enjoyed it.
Pleasure, guys. I enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Rory, Wilson, Shankers, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks very much for joining us.
Superb. Well done.
Right, Matt, look forward to coming back on and seeing Kelly in the Championship.
Well, I tell you what, I'll be up throwing the pies at the next home Darvel game.
I'm not good to throw away.
Telling you, Kelly won't go down. Don't worry. Don't worry yourself about that.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us, everybody. We'll be making more announcements as well on what's happening over the next couple of weeks. And as well, please subscribe to SM Media's YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Peace.